I believe we're live. Happy Thursday, loves. If this is your first time checking out my Facebook Live, thank you so much for checking out my Facebook Live. My name is Dani. I'm a virtual licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. So I typically work with people who are feeling unhappy, unfulfilled, overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious, maybe a little depressed or down. So, a couple weeks ago, I did a Facebook Live on stress awareness, and tonight's Facebook Live is on alcohol awareness. And this is a topic that I have found to be close to my heart because alcohol is something that's very interesting in our society. It's kind of like, when things are good, let's drink. When things are bad, let's drink. We're going to the beach, let's drink. It's New Year's, let's drink. Everything is let's drink. Let's go out for drinks. So it's funny that alcoholism can be a little insidious there. It's tricky to tell when it's really a problem, especially if we're able to pay our bills, if we're able to function, as they say. So, I wanted to talk about some awareness around alcoholism and what to do if you're starting to notice that you have issues with alcohol. Notice when you need a drink. Start paying attention to it. By the way, if you are sober curious, I would encourage you to challenge yourself. Start with 30 days, see what it's like to not drink for 30 days, and then go for 60, and then go for 90. And if it's easy for you, then just go from there. And then if it comes up, you notice that you're stressed out or something's going on and you need a drink, then notice that and pay attention to what comes up for you. Now, if you're not able to get to 30 days, that's another conversation as well. Paying attention to within those 30 days, what comes up for you? When do you turn to alcohol? Do you notice, is it more of an external trigger or is it more of an internal trigger? And what I mean by that is, are you noticing that the things that set you off to drink, are they outside of you? For example, an environment, a job, a situation, a setting, a certain place? Or are the triggers that set you off to drink inside of you, internal? Are they feelings or emotions that you're experiencing? And rather than dealing or coping with those emotions, we drink to suppress them or we drink to numb them. So pay attention to what it is that's leading you to drink, that's initiating that. And also notice if alcoholism, if it looks like consuming alcohol is getting in the way of your day-to-day responsibilities. Notice if it's impacting the quality of your life. And how could you know if it's impacting the quality of your life? Notice if it takes significant time for you to recover. I know when I used to drink, it would take almost a day or so in the beginning. And then as I got older, it took longer. And then eventually in my mid 20s, it alcohol got to the point where it made me feel very fatigued. It would take me out for about 2 weeks. It would take about 2 weeks for me to really truly. I mean, I was exhausted. I'd barely make it to work, but I was tired all the time. Drinking energy drinks to keep my energy up, so it was an issue. Notice if it's also damaging relationships. When I say relationships, it doesn't have to necessarily mean a partner. It can be your coworkers, your family relationships, your friends. Notice if your alcohol, if your drinking habits, if it's impacting your relationships. If it's impacting your relationships, that's another sign, something to look at and notice that. Use any of the, what I like to tell people is anytime your feathers are ruffled, that saying of like, oh, don't ruffle feathers. If you notice that you're set off by something, that's a space of a wound. That's a place to look at. Another thing is if it's affecting your livelihood. That's another way. There's a term of like functioning alcoholic where we can still pay our bills and we can still go to work and show up. But pay attention. Have you ever had a DUI? Notice if you've risked your job or losing employment. Notice if it impacts your livelihood. If it's impacting your livelihood, that's another sign. That's another space to look at. So, like I said earlier, Start with 30 days. Go for 30 days without consuming alcohol. See how you feel. Notice what comes up for you. Notice when you turn to it. If it's try 60 days, then try 90 days. And after that, after you pass 90 days, pay attention and see what comes up for you. What tends to set you off to leading you to drink alcohol? Now, if you notice that you're consuming alcohol and it takes you a while to recover, you notice that it is impacting your livelihood, you notice that it is impacting the quality of your life, you notice that it's affecting your relationships. Perhaps there have been some consequences due to you drinking, whether that meant that you didn't make it to something you were supposed to make it to, or you were supposed to meet a friend, or whatever that may be. When you start breaking your word or breaking your commitments, breaking your responsibilities, when you notice yourself resorting to alcohol as a way to cope with situations. I'll give you just a little tiny bit of information. By the way, this is your first time checking out my Facebook Live, just so you are aware, I am about 5.5, it was 5.5, 6, it'll be 6 years in August that I'm clean of ecstasy and cocaine, and it will be 4 years in November that I have been sober of alcohol. So the reason that, in case you're wondering, how does that math make sense? Because I continued to drink alcohol after I stopped using drugs. And I thought to myself, okay, well, because, alcohol's not the issue. It's ecstasy and cocaine. And then when I stopped using ecstasy and cocaine, I drank more. And I thought, okay, I really need to stop drinking. And between 2015 to about 2017, I would stop drinking. I challenged myself, let me stop drinking. I'd stop drinking. And then it would always be a holiday. It was always a holiday, whether it was my birthday or Christmas, New Year's, or I'm out with people and people are like, come on, Dani, shots, shots, shots. And I remember the very last time, November 2017, and I told myself that it's sake, it's no problem, it's not an issue, and thinking that sake doesn't even count as alcohol because it's not rum or vodka, passed out on my kitchen floor. So that was a sign for me, that nope, it's still an issue. Alcohol is an issue. So when I noticed that it was impacting my life, it was impacting my relationships, it was impacting my job, it was affecting how I operated, how I showed up for people, not to mention the fatigue, of course. So I also realized it gave me a chance to really look at myself, to really look at the holes that I was filling, what used to be drugs, then it became alcohol. And then once I became sober, it turned into, really seeing my choices when it came to intimate relationships. So then it turned into codependency. So, it's interesting how when we abstain from things, we can really see ourselves. We can see ourselves authentically, whole, just perfect, whole, and complete as we are. So I would encourage you, if you've been noticing that you've had a little bit of issues with alcohol, you notice that it either gets situations out of control for you for some reason, or things seem to escalate for some reason, or it's impacting the quality of your life for some reason, I would encourage you start by no longer drinking alcohol. When I say no longer, I was going to say start by stopping, but then I realized that didn't make any sense. So pause, hold off on your alcohol consumption for a little bit, see how you feel, notice what comes up for you. If anything, if you have any questions or you notice anything that surfaced for you while you were watching this Facebook Live, please don't hesitate to send me a message here on Facebook, or you can email me. My email is Dani, Dani, @DaniLaberry.com. Thank you so much for watching this Facebook Live, and I will see you next month for the next Facebook Live. Take care of yourself and have a great night.